Alright, I'm currently at the Cowan Railway Museum, ready to give off a tour of the Cowan Railway Museum. So to start off, we got the first cupboard design. You can actually move it full 360. It's like here's like where it would be like here's what it would be hooked up to a car, and here's the actual coupling part. You would use pens and like a hooking system. Now the funny thing is, people would actually use their fingers to these. So if there was ever a new person on the job, they can easily identify him due to him having actual normal fingers. And they would also often make fun of him. Now, we're going to get something a little bit more modern, but not as modern. The Switch. Now, for some reason, this is actually very new. This is my first time seeing it here. It was installed, I think, a couple of days ago. 2 Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis speeders. We'll get to this later. An original horn sign. Say long, long, short, long. A bar equals long, a circle equals short. Trains still follow this horn code for railroad crossings. In fact, whenever the next train comes, I'm going to try to put my tripod here so I get a shot of the horn sign. Now let's go back a little bit. First off, we got a live cam from Iron Rail Cams, I think it's called. So yeah, you can watch. It's called Cowan, Tennessee Railway Museum. Now we're going to actually get into the thing that I think is like the most important. This steam locomotive. For most of its life, it was used to transport clay materials to turn into bricks. It was usually hauling a 6-car long train, usually for brick material, to turn into bricks. And this L&N flat car. This specific flat car was a tunnel maintenance car. Unfortunately, the museum is closed, but in the museum, there's actually a photo of it when it still had the scaffolding. Scaffolding, my fault. I'm not sure if this is like an actual part of the museum or not, but we got these 2 things. If you don't have any idea what these are, let me know. We also have part of a cupboard knuckle. Now we have a wooden caboose. Now in the last video, I accidentally called this a wooden boxcar. Reason why is because this actually used to be a wooden boxcar, but as you can see, it's a wooden caboose, not in good condition. That's a train coming, so I'm gonna have to be going quick now. If you didn't hear that. So yeah. We have my favorite item of the collection, Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis 100. Only 2 of these exist, and 101, its brother locomotive, is now in some sort of northeastern short line. And finally, a Tennessee Central Railway Museum boxcar and CNSTL. Funny thing is, I didn't get it on camera, but I did go to the TCRM today. So yeah. Now the cool thing about these is you're actually allowed to get on them. If you don't believe me, you can go ask the Cowan Railway Museum people themselves. So let me get on the 100 tonner to show you one side of it real quick. And here's what it looks like inside. Alright? And along with the 100-tonner, you're also allowed to get in the steam locomotive, and you're allowed to get on the flat car. You can only get in the caboose when the museum is open. But it's not even open half the time. The caboose is not even open half the time, even when the museum is open. But I could still show you what's inside because you are allowed to get on the sides. Oh yeah, I think that horn was not a train coming. I think it's just the Cowan helpers. Here's the flat car. Nothing really special, just wood, and there is plants growing on it. Oh, that's a train coming. I'll be right back. Well, now we have that over with. Now I can show you the rest of the area. Now here's a little bit of history and facts about the line. While I show you off the inside of the steam locomotive flat car and the speeders. So, this is a former Nashville, Chattanooga, St. Louis line. But here's the problem. This line had to face one of the steepest grades in the South. So what was the solution? Make a small yard with a locomotive repair shop. And that was pretty much it. They would send small steam locomotives that they had the freight trains to help push up these trains. But there is a story of a mellet locomotive. Right before dieselization, there was a pair of 3 mellet locomotives on a track that used to be right beside there, and that's not there anymore. One of the locomotives was having issues. The people at the repair shop in the Cowan yard was basically saying, "Oh, it's perfectly fine. Send it on a train." Right after the grade, it exploded, killing 2 people. So after that, they actually decided to actually listen to people and actually fix their stuff after that. Now, to this very day, even on CSX trackage, it's still one of the few helper districts. One of the 2 I know of, at least, with the other one being the Horseshoe Curve, and I think Altoona, Pennsylvania. Now, in like the early, I think 80s, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a track, like I was mentioning earlier, on the side. The Cowan Railway Museum was actually going to purchase that track for like their needs, so these could have been running. But at the time, there were some different people at the job, and they basically declined it, and they lost a big opportunity. Now, I'm going to show y'all something. Now, I think this is one of the most awesome things ever. Until mid-2024, there was an L&N railroad crossing serving that area. Now, obviously, since it's an old L&N spec railroad crossing, CSX took it down, but the Cowan Railway Museum was able to actually get the crossing. So let me just, go over there real quick. Here's the crossing. Now, one of the most obvious things is, the mechanical bell is already inside the building. I believe on the 2nd story. So yeah, they're thinking about rebuilding this whole crossing and preserving it. When I did go into the Cowan Railway Museum, I did propose an idea to them, and as to put it in between the 2 display trains. And they said that they could actually make it work, they just don't fully know. So here's a sidewalk gate. Here's the other sidewalk gate. These are one with the smallest gates. They don't even have lights for some reason. And here's like the actual railway crossing. Modern industrial white holder. Here's the base. Here's the catwalk, which is usually on the top of the crossings. Here's the other catwalk. Here's the actual crossing base. That sounded cool. Now, I'm not sure if I'm correct. There's the helper's guide. But, oh yes, I am correct. The bell would go right here. Obviously it doesn't sound like that, but yeah. You get the point. Here's what the base inside looks like. So then that's pretty much it. That is the whole Cowan Railway Museum. Now, obviously later, I am going to be doing the inside tour of the Cowan Railway Museum. This is 5323, and I guess I'm gonna get out of here. See ya.